My name is Marta Dominguez, and my research proposal deals with computer versus paper assessment. My table of contents first, I will be talking about my introduction. Here, I will be introducing my proposal and stating the problem and the purpose. Then I will talk about the research questions that will be addressed in my research. I will talk about the literature review, the different literatures that I have reviewed for this research. My methodology, it's a description of the study design, the population, the analysis and limitations. And lastly, I will go over my references. My introduction. The state of Texas changed their assessment format to online only. Since then, students' scores have decreased tremendously. Students struggle with transferring the information from the screen to the paper and do not take the test seriously. This has been a huge disadvantage for the students. Therefore, it will take a long time for them to get used to online learning. So, back when COVID started, there was no STAR test that was administered that year. The following year, the CDC regulations were very specific, and the state of Texas had to change their paper format to online assessment format. They figured that this was the safest option for the students and the educators to be able to deliver the assessment. There wouldn't have to be sanitary, they wouldn't have to sanitize the equipment they use. They would give them a pencil, and after the pencil was used, the pencil was thrown away. So the students changed from paper to online assessment in 1 year. Now, when this started, the students were taking online courses. So the educator was could not really go over the online features that the assessment was going to provide. So there, the students struggled a little bit. Now, after COVID, after the CDC regulations were no longer so strictly in place, the state of Texas decided to just change the the STAR or their assessments to online. It was an easier delivery. They would get their results faster, and they were able to give the accommodations to the students that needed one. Now, in this transition happened very fast. And since the state of Texas changed it, then a lot of the districts from the state of Texas also changed their assessment to online only to try and mirror what the students would see at the end of the year. Now, the students have been taking a hit in their scores because they are not used to online testing as much. So, my problem statement is that the transition from paper assessments to online assessments, it has decreased the students' scores tremendously. And my purpose is for educators and students to find techniques to help the students perform at a higher level during online assessments. So, online assessments are not a bad thing. It's just that the educators and the students have to find a good, solid technique so that they can improve on their test taking techniques online. Now it brings me to my research questions. Number one, how do online assessment scores compare to paper assessment scores? So we do have to look at data. We have to look at, how are they different from each other? Because if there is not much of a difference, then that means that the students are doing fairly well on the online assessment and do not need a much extra support. Number two, what impact, if any, is online tests having on students' academics? So, researching, what is it that the students are struggling with, whether it be if they're not taking the test seriously, if they cannot transfer the correct information from the online screen to the paper and be able to solve it, or if the screen hurts their eyes to a certain point. So I want to research what is the impact that is happening for the students. Number three, what strategies can professionals in education use in order to help the students achieve better scores on the online assessment? So technology is a huge part in our generation and will not stop. Therefore, I want to be able to research different strategies that educators can acquire so that we can pass it on to the students, so that they can achieve higher than they would on a paper assessment. And which manipulatives can students utilize for a smoother transition to paper to online assessment? So, since the switch has been made, the students never really got a smooth transition. They just quickly switched over. So that is going to be kind of like stepping back a little bit and researching how can we help these students understand that this assessment is just as higher quality as they had when they had the paper assessment. My literature review. So, my theme number one is comparing paper and online exams. So, in most of the literature exams, the students perform higher on paper assessments, and the students preferred paper assessments. And it might be because they were already used to that assessment. So, going into an online assessment was a little bit harder for them to adapt to that specific uh, delivery of assessment. Online assessments have more functions and scores are available faster. So there are advantages to the online exams that the students can utilize. And if they can focus on those positive assessment qualities, for example, a student with special needs is able to have the questions read to them with the click of a button instead of waiting for the teacher to come and read the question to them out loud. Theme number two, comparison of paper versus online instruction. So not only am I researching the exams, the assessments, but I am also trying to research how can we make the instruction for online delivery better. In some of the research literature reviews, 50-50 preferred online and paper. The online is trying to supplement traditional learning, student input of how to improve online learning, and online learning helps students in different cities. So there are some things that need to be changed in the online assess. Okay, now online also helps students in different cities. So, if a student is, for example, if we talk about college and a student is not directly on that city where the college is at, then they can have their education through online learning. It also helps students when, if they have, an illness that they can't attend school as much, they can also do it through there. However, it does need to be revised because some of the students stated that they were confused about certain features or where to assess the material. My theme number three is effective strategies for online instruction. So, tutorials on how to use the online functions. Not every student learns by just reading instructions. So I want to research how would be a better strategy for the students to use online instructions, teacher availability for student help, teacher differentiation for different learning styles, and ELL strategies for online learning. That's theme number three. Theme number four would be effective strategies for students during online exams. So, students do prefer paper exams because they are lacking online skills. They are not sure of how to use the different features. Therefore, they prefer paper exams. Also practicing transferring material from computer to their paper, even in math, if we talk about math, even as little as copying down the negative sign, that really uh, makes the problem incorrect because they didn't transfer the material correctly to the paper in order for them to solve it. And make technology accessible for all students at home. Are several districts that already provide some sort of electronic device for the students. However, not all students have access to internet at home. Methodology. So my study will consist of quantitative research. This research will determine the effects of online learning and assessments in students. My population will consist of 70 middle school students from the ages of from 11 to 13. About 20 of the students are high academic performing students, 30 are middle academic, and 20 are low performing academic students. So there is a mix of different levels of um, performance in there. My instrumentation, the research will be conducted with 50% of the population receiving a lesson face to face, followed by a 5 question assessment, and then the other 50 will watch an online lesson and will also get a 5 question online assessment. This will be random. It will be randomized the 50-50, and students that are participate in online assessment will have the computer on a lockdown browser, so they cannot go into another tab and research or look for the answers. The analysis data will be analyzed by using the mean of the data from paper versus online assessment. The two groups will be compared to address the research question about how online testing is affecting the students academically. The data from the student survey will also be compared using the mean by evaluating the student's response. The students will also get a survey that they can answer stating what they liked from the lesson delivery and what is something that the lesson can improve on. Limitations. So the student's effort could affect the study and data comparison. The students will be picked at random. So if a student prefers a paper assessment and they receive an online assessment, then that could be a limitation that can affect the study. These are my references. This is page 1, this is page 2, and this is page 3. Thank you so much for listening. This is my email in case you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you.